Now we can start.
Anyway, last weekend we went to Southeast CCDC after we qualified last month, and yeah, there was a bunch of red teamers that got into our systems. But this is to talk about some of the tricks they used, some of the taunts that we were subjected to, and yeah. So if you guys, if you guys don't know what CCDC is, it's basically it's called the Collegiate Cyber Defense Competition, and colleges play as a blue team. It's a blue team competition, so colleges will play as a blue team, and you're basically given a scenario where you are taking control of this mock company, right? And this company has vulnerable Windows, Linux, FreeBSD, Solaris, random systems, and your job is basically to secure and defend it, while also juggling business-oriented tasks like, I don't know, the orange team, which will come to check, like, hey, can I get some help here? Or like, you have to write a report or something. But anyway, the fun part is getting attacked by the red teamers. These people are very seasoned. They are professionals in their field, most definitely. They have plenty of years of experience, and they will most certainly get into your system. So you have to figure out how to defend against that. And yeah, there's just a lot of things to juggle. And at the end of the competition, it usually ends up like this, or even during the competition, a lot of services go down, and it's very stressful. So this wasn't the topology that we had for last weekend, but this is just an example. This is for national, so this should be even harder. They had Windows systems, Linux systems, and they're all connected to this Palo Alto VM. More on that later. But yeah, so red teamers will try to get into your system, and you'll also be here. So yeah, good luck controlling that. This was our infrastructure last weekend. It's even more machines than nationals. So that was fun. This was a total about like 48 machines?
46.
46 machines. And like, yeah.
47, right?
Okay. Well, 47 machines.
Too many.
And about like double the services, like 80. Yeah. And we can all thank our sponsors, Amazon, for giving them all this credit. Thank you. This is the culprit. Also, for CCDC, they had Cisco, so we had a Cisco firewall. We also had to deal with Fortra, which makes Cobalt Strike. I didn't actually see any Cobalt Strike payloads, but they probably did use that. Palo Alto firewall, which was also there, and that was a big pain. And Splunk, which is something very different because we usually use Waza or Wazoo. So that was fun to use. Also Salt too, to manage all those machines. So Salt was like basically or like Ansible, but it was even worse. You can orchestrate a bunch of machines at once. So this was us at regionals near like the end. Clearly wow, this looks really bad. But we were team 6, and we definitely did the competition. But yeah, we were last in service checks.
To be fair, I think we have the most services up in the end.
At the end, yeah, we did have the most services up. But the silver lining is we did get like best in red team defense. So good job, us. This is usually how our CCDC goes. This was us like qualifiers. Like we were last until and then we came back at lunchtime. So but this is the red team talk. So let me talk about the red teamers. Well, what they presented and what we talked to them was like their primary goal is just to maintain access at all times. Like they will get into your systems very early on, and then they will kind of just sit there, not really doing anything for like the first couple like minutes, and then they will start taking services down. So that's kind of a misconception because well, how I initially thought of it was is like if they get into your system, it will just start taking services down, 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 down. But no, their main goal, and they will they will give like a lot of effort into maintaining access to your system. Like if they don't have access, they will get in as hard as they can. But their secondary goals, which is more of our problem, is they will soft break services early, which means they will just, do some slight misconfigurations. They will just take down the services very softly and easily fixable. They will hard break services, so that usually entails like, oh, we have to restore from a backup, we have to revert the entire machine, or we just leave the service down. And near the end, last hour of the competition, they just destroy the machines. So yeah, there's no coming back from that. And another thing they like to do is just annoy Blue Team a lot. And we'll see what they do for that. Initial access. They keep telling us like, change your default credentials, right? That's how they get in. And they have scripts to just spray your entire machines for default credentials. So they like to annoy us, like, oh, change your default credentials, change your default credentials. That's how we're getting in. It's like it's kind of more difficult than that, but Blue and Red Team start at the same time. So there's a chance that your machine will probably be infected by the time you get to it. That's what happened with mine. Like I joined my system once I typed in the password, and I just had a Red Teamer just say hi to me. So, and I was like, oh crap, there's probably already a C2 on here. And these machines are like running very old vulnerable versions of services. So it's just easy to break into them. You have probably like a script, a popular proof of concept script on GitHub, or like a Metasploit module that can just break into the systems easily. So you have to actually patch those if you're a Blue Teamer. But if you're a Red Teamer, then it's easy for you because get in, install your persistence. Services come misconfigured. That's also true. That's kind of the same. Yeah. Some of the services like Windows, Active Directory, I don't know, FTP, they will probably leak sensitive information, give them more access than they should. And you could take advantage of that. And then some of the more advanced stuff, default web logins. So like this is different from default credentials because, if you're in a website that has that's running as root and has a password login, it's different from your local login. So you have to make sure to change that or abuse it if you're Red Team. Command injection, exposed databases, some more complicated stuff that will go completely over my head, but the persistence is one of the worst parts. They have command and control servers, so things like Sliver, Cobalt Strike, and Realm, which is a C2 they actually created, one of the Red Teamers there. And they will install a payload on your machine, and it will call back to their server, and they can control your PC just from that, right? And you won't really know if it's there. At least they'll try to stay silent. Some other techniques they use, they try to drop reverse shells. So, say take for example SSH. If you are SSHing into the server, into your machine, it's from you to the server. But for reverse shells, it's different. The machine to the attacker. So they can communicate through that channel and also start a shell and start breaking stuff. Some of the more interesting stuff is they break authentication. So things like Linux for PAM, pluggable authentication modules, they will kind of just allow every password to go through. Like I'll permit any password, and yeah, and then your score checks will still be up. Like everything's working fine, but Red Teamers can get in very easily because they can use any password they want to log in. Backdooring binaries, so things like change passwords. if you know your system's compromised and it's like, oh crap, now I need to change my passwords because they have all my passwords. You'll type in password to change the root password, and it will actually just do nothing because the red teamers replaced it with like something that does nothing. And something more sneaky is they just add their SSH keys. So yeah, they can just SSH now. More persistence. And I think the biggest thing about like what makes this competition hard is you know your system's compromised, but where is the problem, right? You have so many services running, you have so many processes running. It's like, what looks normal? If you're kind of new to this, and it's like, what users should be there? What services are actually real? And what kind of just looks normal, right? So this was an example, like this is just my system, right? And you have all these random stuff like idle inject, migration, and it's like, it's difficult to know which services need to be killed and which needs to just be completely removed from the system. And yeah, that happens sometimes. We would delete stuff and it was like, oh crap, this was actually just legit and our services are going down now. So for red team, once they maintain their persistence, once they got access to your system, they will start breaking things. They will start making you lose points. Soft breaks. This is usually done early in the competition to midway in the competition. They will kind of just push your buttons. They will just stop the services normally. They will edit the configs, so it just kind of just doesn't work to the score check, but it will look like it's running. But it's easy fix if you saw what they modified. It's easily fixable, basically, for soft breaks. One example is a firewall can just drop 50% of the incoming packets. So your score check, like for the scoreboard, you will see, oh, the service is up sometimes. The service is down sometimes. Why is it doing that? But at least you're still getting points, so we can just ignore it for now. And they will just reset credentials to default. They like doing that and then telling us change your password. So, you know. Herd breaks. This happens after midway through the competition. They just start deleting stuff. They delete configs, and it's like, okay, now I have to restart from a backup or revert the machine. And they make destroying the firewall rules. Actually, they change your stuff, and they will sometimes remove assets checked by scoring. So, for example, during the weekend, the normal SSH, the way SSH is scored is it will log into your machine. The scoreboard will log into your machine, and then it will check a certain number of files. If they were there, if they're not there, you lose points. So they will just start removing that. And some of the favorite things they like to do is just delete binaries entirely. So no more LS for you, no more change passwords for you entirely. So, you know. And like an hour before the competition ends, they just don't care and they just start completely nuking your system. So that's always fun. RMR if no preserve root, you know, good command to run. Do not run it. Fork bombing. Yeah, so just completely making your system unusable by just taking up all the resources on the machine. Deleting the bootloader. Well, I mean, you don't really need to reboot the machine anyway, so it's not, it could be worse, right? And sometimes they add so much garbage to the machine that it's basically unusable. So like, I don't know, last time, during the last hour, I had an LLM installed on my machine. And I don't know what happened. It was supposed to be just like, I'm pretty sure it was just supposed to be like just kind of a small troll, but it just nuked my SSH and the entire machine and everything went down. And that happened with all the Linux systems. I know on Windows, this wasn't intentional, but they had a malware that would like zoom your screen and then zoom it out and then like do some weird stuff to your screen. And this wasn't intentional, but the malware was kind of not written in a way that I would check if it was infected. So they would run the thing multiple times and then it would reinfect the same thing. And then the idea was it would mess with your screen every 30 seconds. But if you ran the thing multiple times, it would, every 30 seconds at different intervals, it would just keep doing it. So, I mean, it became unusable. These are the most valuable machines on the network. Red teamers like to get into. The firewall. I don't know. Before here, if we look at the example topology, right? Everything is connected to the firewall. So if your firewall goes down, guess what happens to all the machines? Nothing can access your machines. So the firewall, if it goes down, then you basically just lose a bunch of points. There's not much to say, but like have someone trustworthy on the firewall that can make sure it's up. There's also a lot of backdoors for Palo Alto networks, the firewall that we get, and that's almost on every single CCDC, like regionals and national competitions. The domain controller, which is a Windows Active Directory like component. The reason that's valuable is it controls all the logins for machines, right? So if your SSH is also connected to your SSH on Linux machines is also connected to the Active Directory. So you have a user trying to log into a Linux machine, and then that machine will check, hey, is this guy authenticated, right? So it'll check the domain controller, and the domain controller will say, yes, it is. And then it will let the user through. But if your domain controller is down, then it can't connect, then it can't say like yes or no, this guy can log in, and then it just basically just denies everyone. So yeah. Trolling. This is like the most fun part of CCDC. They like to talk to you. The red teamers like to talk to you. They don't like to just stay silent and just break stuff. This happens a lot. So I know for this example, okay, I don't think this wasn't on the week. This wasn't this weekend, but I think this was qualifiers. They had SSH just point to a different port. So when the score check will check it, it will be like, oh, this is not on the right port. No points. So they just kept changing it and then just made the config immutable. And then, they just started talking to taunt. Well, actually, this was a blue teamer, but like saying pop-ups and fake Windows updates. So yeah. I don't know if you can tell, but that's a rickroll on the terminal. Yeah, and they just like to, be a little funny. Also Bonzi Buddy, I know that's what happened to our machines, right, Yuling? Yep, Bonzi Buddy. Honestly, it was very helpful. We could search the internet and he's just so nice, right? And this would appear every time we would log in. A giant cow. And I cannot tell you how long we spent trying to remove this. It didn't do anything, but it was just like, it was kind of annoying every time we had to SSH in, and then it's like, oh, there's a giant cow. Our system is compromised. So we had to figure out where that came from. And just like a lesson, there are so many ways this could come from. Like we initially thought, oh, this is the MOTD from whenever SSH logs in. It's not. It could also be like whenever a user logs in with bash or C. I think that's where it actually was, right? Mm-hmm. And or it could just be like a script that's running that checks whoever's logging in, and just displays that command. This just displays that cow. So it was like 100 different ways they could have done this, and it's just so annoying to try to figure it out. So there's a lot of opportunity there. So I don't know if this is obvious, but this isn't real red teaming. They're loud intentionally. They like to troll intentionally, and it's kind of just a way for them to say hey, you're compromised. please do something about it. And, you know, kind of slow us down, slow the blue teamers down. And yeah, they'll alias and hijack your binaries. They will change your LS to I don't know if you know SL, which stands for steam locomotive. So anytime you type in LS, it would just show a train going across your screen and you're locked for 5 seconds. And they like to leave notes in your terminal. They like to talk a lot. Yep. And sometimes they don't do any of that, like within the first minute, and they kind of just wait until they don't do this intentionally, but like blue teamers just break their machines accidentally sometimes. So yeah. And then, well, I mean, if all your machines are down, they can't hack it. So like, you know, that's a good strategy. That's very good. So these are some of the resources I used. Like we met Raphael Mudge, which is the creator of Cobalt Strike, which is very popular C2 and very expensive. And also, yeah. I took some of his resources from his presentation, which you should definitely check out. Also, if this ever gets offered again, you should take adversarial cyber tradecraft, which Ben is the TA for, and you know the labs are awesome. So yeah. So the main idea for this talk was like, I want the best way to defend against red team, and also for red team to practice is to, you know, do some practice, actually do some of these simulations. And we were doing this for CCDC. Like I wish we had done it like way earlier, but we had Andre be our one red teamer, and he was very good at it. So I was like, dang, we could have some of this for red team, blue team stuff, and it should be fun for everyone. You know, we want to simulate competitions as close as possible, so the network will be big, hopefully, if infrastructure can handle it. The services will be extra vulnerable because unlike CCDC, we are not like 20 years experience in red teaming. So ideally, it should be like, you know, Metasploit module you can get in. Nothing too crazy, but hopefully there will be some stuff you will learn from. And you know, this would also be some good practice for the blue teamers too, if they're in NCAE, UB lockdown, or Cyber Force. And you know, this is a good substitution for like, because I know red team doesn't do as much competitions as blue team. You have CPTC, and you know, that's kind of the major one, but you know, gotta get some substitutions in there, but you know. That's about it for this presentation, but something to look forward to. I'm planning on doing some more is some Android exploitation. I've been doing a lot of that recently, and you know, I was able, even though it was like super simple stuff, I was able to like you guys know Life 360, the message, like the tracking app. You guys can actually send like messages through those, and you can hijack the requests, like whatever you're sending. So that's something I did, and I'll be talking about next meeting. Should be very exciting. Utilizing Sliver, which is something, well, it's a C2, kind of similar to the things they use in CCDC. So it's very important. You can control the machines without people knowing, and it's very accurate, very cool. And some AI/LLM prompt generated attacks, because we all love the AI, right? But no, this is actually very cool. Especially since many services are now using AI, and it's like fun to see them break. But yeah, that's about it for me. So any questions?
You want to do an attack defend?
Yeah.
We can do one on hack the box.
What? Oh wait, yeah, right.
Hack the box battlegrounds.
There is I know there was a hack the box mode, like a hack the box does everything. They have challenges, they have machines, but they also have a battlegrounds mode where yeah, you could do attack defense stuff. And it's like I tried logging on there and it's usually dead. So, we could try it. We have a lot of time left. We have like 30 minutes. Well, the presentation only took 30 minutes, so let me see. Let me see how it is.
Stop recording.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But